Hi, my name is Dash, and I am a content creator in Second Life, and I own a store called Aardvark. In the past couple months, I've been releasing some Animesh creations, and I've gotten some questions on how I create Animesh. I'm no sort of expert or anything in there. I consider myself a novice and a beginner, but I definitely want to just share the knowledge that I know so that maybe to help you get started on if you are interested in making Animesh. So I'm going to do with this creature here. This is a release that I just did, but I'm just going to redo it, re-rig it. The first thing that I do, so to start with, we have to figure out the size of our character or our Animesh. Animesh is not able to be resized in world. I personally already have Avastar, so I go to Avastar and then I just add a basic avatar just to see what the sizing of my character is going to be. There's a couple other ways, of course, that you can take a look and see how big your character is. And I only just use this to see how big it is. So right now I'm saying I want this around the knee height here. You can also do it in meters too, where if you were to select your mesh and you go into item, then you could see that the height is about 0.6 meters. And you can do it that way. Bento Buddy also has kind of a safety rig. Let's see which one it is. So under Bento Buddy and then add a safe rig. That's another way to do it too. I just use Avastar so that I could see kind of the avatar, but you don't need both at all. But I'm just going to delete that. I also have screen keys enabled. If I don't say it out loud, then you'll be able to see what my screen keys are. And I'm going to do N to just make that disappear. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a bone. You can do Shift A. I'm a fan of shortcuts. Shift A, Armature, single bone. Another way is to add and then also a Armature, single bone. And for this first bone, just the root bone. So we're going to make it super small because it's not going to really do anything. So we're just going to scale it with S, and then you can kind of just drag your mouse. Now we're going to tab to go into edit mode. And now we're going to make some more bones for this guy. So we're going to make this a very simple rig, very simple to follow along with. You can add more bones later, but this is just to get you started. So to make this so that we can see it through the mesh, we're going to go to the right hand side, go to Object Properties, and Visibility in Front. And then now we're going to extrude and then lock it on the Z, so hit the Z. And I just basically want bone for his torso here. And then we're going to extrude again along the Z, lock it along the Z. And then this will be the head. And then we want the arms and then the legs. So we're going to go in this middle one, hit E to extrude, lock it on the Z, so hit X. And I also don't want this connected, so we're going to click on this bone here, and then we're going to untick connected. So that means I can take this and move it over. Then we're going to name this arm and then L. Even though this is your right, this is the left for the character. Let's go ahead and name this one too. So this is going to be the head. And this is going to be the torso. And then down here, E to extrude again, lock it on the X. And select this bone, unconnect from this here in the bone properties. Oops. And then I'm going to rotate it to fit along his little leg here. And then we're going to name this leg and then L. And on the number pad, I'm going to hit the number 3 so I can go to the side just to see. Now, I've added a couple of extra bones for my things. I've kind of had like a butt wiggle for some stuff, so I'll actually hit E to extrude, and then Y to lock it on the Y-axis. Select this bone here, connected. Oops, and we're gonna move it here. So basically any part that you want to movement, this is where you're going to have a bone. And then I'm gonna go to the back. So I'm gonna actually hit Control 1 to go to the back, or you can hit the number 9 to go to flip. And yeah, that's the butt right there. Doesn't matter if it's poking out a little bit. So, oh, this didn't stay here. So let's do arm L, leg L, and then head. We can also do his ears too. So extrude, lock it along the E. Just gonna do not connected. R to rotate. We're just gonna scale it down. And then we're gonna go do ear L. Now we've done it on one side. Now we can also use a thing called symmetrize so that it goes on the opposite side. And it's important to add either the L. Some people do .L. There's other ways too. So I'm gonna actually hit A to select all the bones. W is the shortcut. And then I'm gonna hit symmetrize. And then now I have the ear, R, ear right, arm right, and then the leg right. Another way to do that is to hit all again, or just select all of by dragging. Then you can go to Armature and then symmetrize that way. But again, I like using the shortcuts, so I would again do A to hit all of it, W, which W is also the context menu for basically anything that you use. If you hit W, it usually will bring up a menu of what you can do. So symmetrize. Alright, so we've actually made a skeleton. So we have a skeleton for his ear, or bones for his ears, bone for his head, and bones for his arms, and a booty. Alright. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is we want to parent the mesh to the skeleton so that we can have it moving. So to do that, we're going to go into object mode and select your mesh, and then hit shift, and then select the armature or the skeleton. Hit Control P to parent, and we want to do with automatic weights. So this basically gives the skeleton, or Blender figures out which bone goes with which parts of the mesh. And for the most part, it's pretty good. So with automatic weights, so now it is parented to each other. So the next part here is weight painting. Weight painting basically tells the mesh and the skeleton, or where it's going to affect. So right now, if I were to move the arm, and how I'm moving the arm is I'm rotating it, selecting it and then rotating, it's actually going to move this part here, and that's not what we want. I don't want that at all. We only want the arm to basically maybe move this area here and maybe some of this area, but not his eyeball or his nose. His nose is even stretching out. Same with the ear. If I want an ear wiggle, you know, this we don't want his eye doing that loop-de-loo. So that's where weight painting comes in, because we're going to tell the mesh where the bone should move. So I'm going to go to object mode, and the bones that we named here are now going to be vertex groups on, or assigned to vertex groups on the mesh. And to get to there, we can go to the data properties, and then these are the vertex groups, or the bones that we had. So we can see that. We're going to go to weight paint. So the leg is going to affect, the red means that where it's going to affect the most, and then it goes lighter until it doesn't affect these areas here till blue. Left leg, so we don't want it really up this high. If we go around the mesh, I really don't want it this high. And this arm here, you can see that it's affecting all of this area. We don't want it to affect the face. Don't want it to affect the back of the head. And again with this way here, the ear, see that's why it was affecting the eye. We just want it to affect the ear here. Again, we want to remove it from here. And then the head. This is actually not really affecting the eye, so I want to make sure the eyes are affected. And then the torso. And then the bone, this is the bone, the root basically. For weight painting, we have a couple tools here. So the draw tool, if it's 0 means that blue, or just showing the blue, it's not going to affect anything. And then if you move the weight to, you can drag it to 1, then it is going to affect it, and it turns red. And then we also have this blur tool. The blur moves it so that it softens the edges between here. I mean, the automatic weights, it did a pretty good job on doing a gradient, but this will soften it, especially if you do, let's draw this. And if I blur it, it just makes it so that it softens it. And then we have the average. This basically takes the average between a couple of them, so makes it softer. Smear, I don't really use smear. You can, but yeah, that just brings it back. So I guess if you didn't want to erase, you could smear. So we're basically just going to just erase the areas. And again, this is very rudimentary. You can spend a lot of time weight painting, but this is a very simple character. Another thing too that you want to make sure that you have on is the mirror, so along the x-axis, to make sure that we're weight painting on both sides. Along the tool too, to make sure that the symmetry is on, but you can also make sure it's on here. So I'm actually going to fast forward through the weight painting part, just to make this video as concise as possible, but you can definitely slow it down if you want to actually watch more about the weight painting. And here, and you can keep fiddling with weight painting to make it as smooth as possible, so I'm just smoothing things out here. That's what I wanted. So that was quick and dirty of weight painting. So yeah, now we can make some animations. So with animating, I use Bento Buddy, and for Bento Buddy you need a reference pose. Basically, this is the pose, the T pose, where your avatar where the mesh starts with. So with Bento Buddy, it's going to go to animation. When you open up animation, it's probably not going to have all that stuff. Okay. It'll be probably blank like this. We're going to go to reference pose. And we're going to create a reference pose, and it basically just adds a keyframe here. And the keyframe basically shows where specific points in time on the timeline are. Now I go into Blender has an animation tab that you can do. I do this so that I can see the skeleton and the bones on one side, and then I move this, so let's go to 1, and then I do Shift C to center it, so then I can see the animation without having to see the skeleton. And there's a couple ways to animate. One way to animate is you can rotate. So there's a couple ways that you can do. Rotate, and then hit I in this menu, in this area, to do rotation. And then actually that created our first animation, so we're going to bring this to 0, and yeah. And if we rotate to the side again, and then hit I, rotation, let's move maybe his arm here. I'm just hitting R to rotate, I, rotation. Then maybe move along the timeline here. Rotate again, rotation. And then that's our first animation. And then there's another way that you can do it. So I'm just going to drag on here and delete these, hit X to delete. This is the recording button. And the recording button does it in live action basically. So you can hit this record, or auto keying, and hit play, and then you move it how you want to. So let's do this, let's click this, we're just going to do a little wave here, and then maybe a little wave here, and let stop, and hit play. So, and then there's a little wave. And then also, if you can rotate, so I hit 3 to rotate, and this I can make his leg come back and forth. Now I would probably want to fix this with weight painting so it doesn't crease so much like that. I'm pretty sure in the actual one that's in world that I've already done, it doesn't crease like that, but for now we'll just keep it so it creases. So like if you were trying to make him walk, you'd have to do one at a time. Also another thing too is that you can use the mirror. So if you hit the X, then both arms will move. And same with the ears. So let's do the ears. So again, I use both ways, where I do the stop motion or I just do the auto keying. So then this wiggles this way here too, along the front. And sometimes go to the side, wiggle here. Can also make him look up, or move his body at least, so it's just like, well, hello. We're just going all over the place here. And go up and down. Whoa. And then go to the back. And we can even go to the back on this guy. I click the butt bone. And we're just going to do a little wiggle. His booty wiggle. And that's basically all that booty wiggle is. Just to side, side, side. You can go to rotate, but then you can also go up and down. So, because we just did that full wiggle there, so you can still use G to grab and kind of just move it. Oh, he is going all over the place here. I'm going to go 1 to go to the front, and then 1 to go to the front here. But yeah, so you can drag along this to go between the animation. But yeah, that's made our first animation. Now, let's go to the layout to go back to the regular part here. Now, one thing that I do is that I do duplicate. I Shift D to duplicate the reference pose from the beginning to the end. Not sure if that's what you're supposed to do. That's just what I've done so that when my animation loops in world, it's not such a so obvious, so that he doesn't just click back to this pose here. So here I'm just selecting each of the bones and shift duplicating that reference pose keyframe to the end of each one. So now we want to make this armature skeleton mesh so that it's compatible with SL. And to do that, I use Bento Buddy. So to open up Bento Buddy, if it's not showing here, you can hit N, and it should be one of these tabs here. These are some of the other add-ons I have, but this is so you can see that. And then we're going to go to Template Creator and Editor. It's probably going to just show these three here, and we're going to go to the Visual Snap Mapper. And you're going to want to have your armature selected, and then we're going to hit Action. It's going to turn scary for a second because it is going to show basically the SL bones, and we want to show our armature again. So you're going to click here, then we're going to go to the object properties, go in front so you can see it. So yellow means that these bones are not mapped to Second Life bones. So we're going to take this bone here, my torso bone, and I try to match it to the SL bone. So if you start clicking here, so let me just explain, I guess. So on our armature, it's going to show here, and then the SL skeleton, when you click on one of these bones, it will show the name here. And we're going to map these together. So this middle one here is the torso. It doesn't matter which one you click first. At least I don't think it matters which one you click first. Yeah. And then you're going to map these bones. Then it turns blue. And then this is the head bone. This is the head. So head map. Some of them are going to match, some of them are not. Arm. I'm going to match it with this bone here. This is the collar left. That's okay. Like this. Now we're just mapping it. The butt. Do the pelvis. And the leg. Go to this hip. Map. Then this root bone. I honestly just do that to the groin. And then we got the ears. Which I'm actually just going to put to, let's see, the shoulder. Now we could show more bones or show all bones. Now that can just get scary. Now this is if you want a tail and all that stuff here. And then of course if that's too much information, you can just show less bones. For my little skeleton here, our animation is not too complicated, but if you did need to show more bones, you could hit show more bones, and we're just gonna put it to the collar here, or shoulder, and then map it here. And once everything has turned blue, all your bones have turned blue, then we're going to hit reset stage. I'm gonna go back to the front again. We're going to go to character converter. I have turn make copy on because when it does that, it converts and it kind of cleans up your mesh, is what was explained to me. So convert, and it makes a second one, and then export mesh. So this is bear tutorial. Export DAE. And you can delete this extra one, you don't need it. Okay, so now to export the animation, we want to go into character tools. You'll be choosing bone control, and this will snap to bones. This basically just uses it to test the animation. It is putting with the SL bones. I'm gonna keep that there. And now it's sending it to the animation. So we're going to open up the animation tab next. And the start frame is from 1, and the end frame is to 360, which is what we have here in our timeline. And then to 360. The basic name I believe is BB animation, but I changed this to the Bear Idle 1. This is the name that the file that it'll save as. I choose the base priority at 5. We're going to loop this animation so that it will continuously play in world. The loop is going to start at frame 2. This is kind of talking about the reference pose. The reference pose is on the frame 1. So when your character is in world, it won't necessarily have repeat at this pose here, because we use this pose to mesh, but we don't want it to be in this pose here. Ease in and ease out, I believe it's set at 0.80 or 0.84. I saw another tutorial at 0.40, so I just changed that because I felt it was smoother. And then we're just going to export the animation and go ahead and just put it into the same folder and export animation. It's going to turn red. And after it's done there, if you want to check to see that it's saved in the folder here. And now we can delete this rig here. Okay, now we'll go into Second Life. Okay, we're going to bring him in world now. So go to build, upload, mesh model, find your file, bear tutorial, DAE. He's going to come in a little wonky, a lot wonky, but we're going to fix that in a minute. So I changed this first number to 0, and I changed this to generate reliable. Then the most important thing, go to rigging and include joint positions. And this resets them so it looks better. And then I go to physics, I change this to cube. And then calculate weight and fees. He's going to be uploading at 11 for less than 1 impact, 1 land impact. Now we're going to upload the animation. Upload animation. And then bear idle 1. Okay, we're going to go ahead and res here. Now, one thing with Animesh is that even though we have him at 1 land impact, SL automatically, just for being Animesh, will increase it to 15 land impact. And then also, um, I believe, multiply it by 1.5 for every 1,000 triangles that are in your Animesh. I can show you just as a basic cube. So as this cube here, right now the cube of course is only 1 prim, 1 land impact. If we go to features and change this to animated mesh, it is now 15. So just for being Animesh, SL will, I say, penalize you for 15 land impact. So even though we have our little Animesh here at 1, he's going to automatically go to 15. And then for every 1,000 triangles I had on him, it's going to multiply that. So let's take our mesh here, and then we're going to make this root prim here. We're going to link it. And then we're going to change this box. Well, let's make this invisible for now. And then change it to animated mesh. We'll go ahead and drop the animation in. And with Bento Buddy, there is a script for touch to animate or Animesh. There's lots of scripts on Marketplace too. And touch him. And there we go. Now he's with all his animations. Now, I am by no means an expert at Animesh. I've only been doing it for the past couple months, but I've been getting a lot of questions on how to create Animesh, so I wanted to create this video just to show my process. There's definitely tons of ways that you can branch off from here, creating more complex skeletons and armatures. You can look into inverse kinetics so that you can make it more smoother, but I just wanted to provide a beginner tutorial on creating Animesh. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.